Welcome back to Without Notes, where we're going to continue on with Rabbi Wolpe. Now, in 1997, Rabbi, the world and people's relationship to their church or synagogue is a different world than the world of today.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
We have seen many studies that indicate that the centrality of religion is significantly diminished, particularly among young people. Is that both true and worrying to your mind, or?
It's true, worrying, and I think a little bit incomplete, only in the sense that the issues that religion addresses, the central issues, are no less important. That is, the search for meaning in life, the desire for connection with other human beings and with something greater than yourself. The comment of William James that the great use of life is to use it on something that will outlast it. People still feel those things. They don't always feel that religion speaks to those concerns with the same cogency that it did to their parents and grandparents.
Yeah,
so
it's out. Many young people feel it's inconvenient and out of date.
Yes, I think that is true, and so there's a search for both new forms and also more direct experiences. It's one of the reasons why I think psychedelics, meditation, things like that, which actually have a place even in traditional religious structures, although not in the ones we grew up in. Right. That's why those things are so powerful.
I was born in New York City. You were in Philadelphia. I don't remember on the Lower East Side psychedelics being a big part of Jewish life.
No,
But what I want to ask you, you didn't mention in talking about religion and Judaism, the capacity for it to instruct the human in areas of wisdom.
Right. Well, one of the things that we've lost to some extent is both the social cohesion that religion offers,
yep, and
also the moral guidance that religion offers.
Correct.
And that is a huge loss. I don't want to say but, because the but negates what went before it. That is a huge loss, period. Huge loss, period.
And by the way, that could be said, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong from your perspective, that could be said by a passionate atheist.
Oh, absolutely. I think so too.
A passionate atheist could say the fact that people are disconnected.
Right, absolutely. And I think obviously the pandemic exacerbated that tremendously, but that's a separate question. The thing that I wasn't going to say but I'd say the modes that religion has to reach out to people in new and different forms, I think, can help with the restoration of some of that, because what unfortunately sometimes tends to happen is as people drift away, religion gets more rigid. Like, you're not doing this, we told you have to do this, which is an action-reaction movement.
They double down.
Exactly. And therefore, only the people that are already inside the tent stay there, and they just have more and more contempt for the people outside the tent. Whereas I really do believe that that fundamental human need, both for guidance and for rules and boundaries, still exists. We have to find new ways to approach it.
To the people inside the tent,
yes,
who you know something about, I think they could say with some accuracy, you know, Rabbi, those people outside the tent, they don't look like they're doing too great.
I think that's true, but then you have to ask yourself, so why do they stay outside the tent? That's the question that I want to know. As a rabbi, my interest in the people outside the tent is not to tell them you're terrible. It's to figure out why.
Well, what about the notion that I mentioned that it's inconvenient? And
Okay, so here's a
saying
fundamental divide.
okay.
Sometimes you want to say that someone who doesn't do what I want them to do doesn't do it for bad reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know the good reasons they
Okay.
don't do it,
Okay.
because that's what I can change.
Okay.
What I can change is if they say to me, "Look, you don't realize it, but for example, this kind of building doesn't speak to me, even though it spoke to my parents and grandparents. And if you did services outside, I'd be much more interested." Those are the kinds of things I want to know.
Those are tactical.
Right. I'm less interested in saying you're just bad because you don't want to do what I want, because that, from my point of view, that's not productive of getting people to come closer inside the tent by and large.
Or,
Yeah.
I guess you choose not to want to say, you're just bad because you are more interested in playing on Instagram.
But there again, that's a really, what I want to know is, look, I didn't have Instagram when I was a kid. So I want to know, what is it like to grow up with that? And how can I, as a rabbi, speak to you in a way that, since you grew up with Instagram, will still bring you in? Exactly. We have the same, you and I have the same goals in this conversation.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I don't,
Yes.
my experience is to say to them just, you're not doing it right.
Scolding is probably not an
Generally
aphrodisiac.
doesn't,
Right.
most of the time. I mean, there is a place for it. I've scolded my congregation before, and they have scolded me, and we both deserved it sometimes.
Yes.
But as a general practice, I
It's
want to
not
know what motivates you, and see, it may be that I can't move the goalposts to include you. It's possible.
So, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, do you think that there's a strong likelihood, maybe not a certainty, but a strong likelihood that people's connectedness to transcendent moral law, religion, will renew in certain ways, or not?
I'm an
necessarily?
optimist. Actually,
You are.
I am. I'm by nature.
are.
I have a real.
You
I wanna
are
say,
an
I want to
optimist.
say I'm a hopeful person. I really am.
You're an
I'm
optimist.
Yes.
Everything's going to work out.
It's just I was born with this disposition.
Yes.
It's like, as my daughter sometimes will say to me, she'll go, sometimes the fact that you think everything's going to work out drives me crazy, but I'd much rather you be this way. It's actually ultimately good for me.
Do you know also Thomas Friedman? Great quote.
Yeah.
Thomas Friedman said that pessimists are usually right, optimists are usually wrong, but no great progress has ever been made by a pessimist. I thought that was a great.
I think it's a great quote.
Isn't that great?
I think it's probably true. But also, pessimism saps some of your vitality.
I think that's it.
And I don't feel that. It's like, when you talk about those people outside the tent, as you can see, I want to go get them.
Yeah, the problem with what you're
But-
saying is that every pessimist that we know would define themselves as a realist.
Yes,
And
you're exactly
there we
right.
are.
That is point well taken.
So-
So what I would say is that I think there will be renewals, but I also, I'm an epistemologically humble optimist, by which I mean I don't know what form those renewals will take.
I understand.
And I have to sort of believe that if I put out traditional Jewish wisdom, even though
Which
it
has
may be
stood
heard
the test of time.
thousands of years, even though it may be heard in different ways, it may be reconfigured in different ways, that it will reach.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found that half as interesting, intriguing as I did. And if you did, please like us on Facebook, like us on all your social media channels, share it. Share it with your friends by email, however you enjoy communicating, because I think there's a lot of meaning in what was said. But we're coming back soon with another episode that I think you'll find equally fascinating. Please stay with us.